walking you through my schedule at Berkeley, my recommendations for constructing your schedule, reviewing my classes, and just talking through how to do everything related to scheduling and registering for classes. I feel like freshman year me would have loved this, so I'm just going to talk you through it. First off, let's start with my freshman year. My fall semester, I took multivariable calculus, women in sports, history in the U.S., designing information devices and systems 1, completion of work in CS61A, which is just like an intro CS class, and algorithmic fairness in the genome, which was a decal. So starting with multivariable calc, I think I need to give context that I already had taken this in high school, so my experience in this will be pretty different from I think most people's, but I ended up taking this at 8 a.m. and I feel like I was more comfortable doing that because I was like, I do not need to be super awake for lecture because in theory I already know all this information. And luckily that was the case for me, but I do know some people when they come to Berkeley, like the math is a super big jump. So I think if you already know you're not a morning person, maybe don't take the 8 a.m. But I think the most important part of classes is discussion. So just make sure your discussion times are times that you'll actually go to, because lectures, sometimes it's a good prof, sometimes it's a bad prof, sometimes it's not super helpful, and sometimes it is. But I feel like almost every discussion I've had, no matter what, it's been super helpful. So just make sure those discussion times are times you actually want to take. I will note for Math 53, it was a little weird. We had 2 essays because my prof wanted us to do essays. So just look into like what your prof structures the course like and see what you really value. You can go ahead and see like a grade distribution for any prof for any class any semester at Berkeley Time. I'll put that link in the description, and you can also see how fast people enroll in classes. That way you can figure out if you want to phase 1 or phase 2 it. And like phase 1 is when you get to add, it depends on your college, but usually you get to add 3 like full unit classes, and then phase 2 you get to add additional units on top of that. So that phase 1, you want to get into all the classes that are hardest to get into, and then leave the one where you're like, oh, maybe I'm okay not taking it this semester, or it's not as competitive to get into for phase 2. And then I also have History 100 AC, special topics in history of the US, women in sports. This one was an upper division history class for my eecs breath because I was in the College of Engineering. Also, eecs stands for Electrical Engineering and Computer Science. I feel like eecs, like at first when I was hearing it, I was like, wow, that's so annoying. But then I got very tired of saying Electrical Engineering and Computer Science, and then I understood. But I really thought this class was interesting. A regret I do have was our final was 3 on-demand essays, and I feel like I stressed way too much about that. I could have passed this class, no problem, because of the College of Engineering breadth requirements. You only need to do pass, no pass. So look into your college requirements, and I know it might be tempting to take it for a grade, but when that deadline is approaching, really think about if it's worth the stress or not. Because honestly, looking back, it was not worth the stress. Like, I was there writing on my whiteboard trying to memorize everything, and I really didn't need to be doing that. So honestly, pass no pass if you have the bandwidth to do so, because why not? Like, why stress yourself out for no reason? Unless you want like a GPA boost or something like that, like those are great reasons to not pass no pass. But for me personally, like, I was not going to reach the pass no pass limit in my time at Berkeley, and my GPA did not need a boost. Like, it was literally my first semester, so there's no reason for me to be doing that. And then I also took eecs 16A, which is one of the intro eecs courses on the EE side, and I will say this is super linear algebra heavy, and I had taken linear algebra previously, so I feel like this was like not too hard for me. But if you are new to linear algebra, I'd expect to spend a little bit more time on this class just getting used to it, because using like matrices and all of that, I feel like can be a little unfamiliar the first time you do it. So just getting used to that. But I feel like the labs are good to get more hands-on experience, and it definitely preps you for 16B. And then I also took CS47A, which is a connector course, because I had previously taken computer science courses at community college. And so this one was a 1-unit course where I did either 1 or 2 projects, and then I had a final exam that was written. And something I honestly wish I had done for this class was get more used to written exams, I feel like that's something very normal in the Berkeley CS department, is that you're going to be writing down stuff for your exams, whether it be small bits of code or something else. So I think just taking a lot of practice exams in that format is super helpful. And I had never taken an exam on paper for CS before, so I feel like in the exam I was just a little more stressed than I needed to be if I had taken some extra practice exams just to get used to the format. Because honestly, like with every CS class I take, I feel like the exam format is so different. So just taking the practice exams to get used to it, I think is really critical to doing well. Okay, and then CS 198, Algorithmic Fairness in the Genome. This is a decal. So at Berkeley, decals are student-run classes, either grad student, undergrad student, like any students can run them. You just propose a topic. I know my boyfriend took one on Pokemon, so they can be about anything. This one is obviously a little bit more academic, but I feel like this was cool. It was super chill. It just had some readings. You went to class. I think we had like maybe one super easy assignment, but it was more like you read it, you discuss, you learn more. It was great. If you're interested in a topic, I'd take a decal. I know that there are some that are like way more hands-on. I think there's like a poker decal, and I know there's like one that's like related to fashion, and you end with like a fashion show. So super cool decals. If you have time in your schedule, please do it. Oh no, my microphone! It's actually still working, so we are back. A little brief cut there, but now I'm just gonna do a quick review of each of my classes with emojis, because why not? So I'll be disappearing for a second. Okay, I feel like multivariable calculus, it was kind of like, it went well, but also having lecture at 8 a.m. was kind of gross, and like, why were we writing 2 essays for math that were like not researchy? It was just like summarization stuff. So I think it's getting the upside down smiley face. For this one, I feel like it was interesting, and I really enjoyed learning about sports. I feel like a big focus was about how women were perceived for doing sports in history, and I really appreciated that. I feel like there was so much that I didn't know, and I'm so happy to have learned. So I'm going to give it a tennis ball, because I actually wrote one of my essays in this class about tennis and women's and how they were perceived. Okay, and then eecs 16A, I feel like this one was just really fun. I feel like this was a really chill class in my opinion. It was kind of like, let's go have some fun and go to lab, and then you pretty much always finish the lab early for the most part, so it was really chill, so it was just a lot of fun. Okay, this one, I feel like this is my first written exam, and I was like not the happiest with how I did on it, so we're gonna give it this little melting face. I feel like if you just take practice exams, you'll be fine, but I was not ready for it to be written. And then CS 198, this one was really interesting, but also really sad, because we kind of learned about some horrific things that have happened, especially in Berkeley's history. So I think we're just gonna stay with a nice little strand of DNA. Let's talk about freshman spring. So we took CS 70, which is discrete math, college writing R4B, which is reading, composition, and research, eecs 16B, designing information devices and systems 2, CS 47B, completion of work, and CS 61B, which is data structures, industrial engineering 185, which was a challenge lab. CS 70 is pretty notorious in the CS department for being a pretty tough class. It's a lot of proofs, a lot of long homeworks, and there's the homework and no homework option. I did the homework option because I wanted that to keep me on track. I had taken discrete at community college, and let me tell you, this class was still pretty hard. Like, I feel like it was just stressful because the homeworks are so long, and then with proofs, I feel like you're just sitting there thinking until it clicks, and until it clicks, you're just kind of like floating around in your mind, searching and hoping that your brain starts working. So I did take a while on these homeworks, and it could make me consider switching to no homework, but I feel like the structure of the homework and like thinking about it like that made me ready for exams, because the exams were kind of wild because they had like a lot of true false, and it was really annoying how the exams were structured. Honestly, like out of all my exams at Berkeley, I feel like this is the third worst exam I've taken. So let that say what it does. But overall, like, I survived the class, and I feel like it was necessary because, one, it's a major requirement, but also I wanted to take CS 170, which is the advanced algorithms class. So I don't know if it's directly transferable. I mean, there are some proofs in that class, but I feel like they make it a little unnecessarily tedious, in my opinion. I also was not a huge fan of one of the professors I had, so that also kind of skews my opinion. And then for college writing R4B, I feel like this one was really chilled because it was definitely a college writing class that wasn't targeted at English majors. It was targeted at like engineering or like science majors. So like almost all of our reading was about engineering or science breakthroughs, which I appreciated because it was more engaging to me. And I recognize that like being an engineer and everything, like reading and writing are critical, but sometimes I'm just like, could it be more related to like what I'm doing in my other classes? So I feel like this is great. I do wish we had like a lab report writing class instead, but overall, like, this is fine. Like, it was engaging, interesting. Sometimes I was like, oh my god, why is there so much reading? But most weeks it was manageable. I will say that there are a lot of discussion posts. I feel like the professors really like that, so just be ready to do your discussion post and then responding to 2 others. For eecs 16B, I feel like this was the best continuation of 16A, and I feel like this is a little bit of a controversial, oh my god, my mic keeps disconnecting, so I'm so sorry if the audio is bad, but I feel like this is a little bit of a controversial opinion, but I enjoyed 16B. My little car, so okay, the premise is you build a car throughout the semester in lab that you do like, oh my gosh, I'm just gonna hold it like this so that the mic works. But you build a car throughout the semester and you're like setting up the motors and everything, but then you're also doing filtering for the audio, and then you're making it so it has different voice commands for like how it will move and all of that. So I really enjoyed that. There was only one lab where we had something go wrong and we kind of just killed our little launch pad, but that's okay. But other than that, like, our car was super cute, it was fun, but not everyone will agree with this. Like, some people at the end of the semester, they're ready to destroy their car, and they do, but I enjoyed this class. I thought it was great. So it really depends on what kind of person you are and how you enjoy doing your labs, and also how well your lab is going. CS 47B, completion of work in CS 61B. So that is the data structures class. I had also taken this at community college, and this connector course, I got the professor where all you had to do were projects. So I just wrapped up the projects halfway through the semester, and then I was golden. Like, I had no more work to do for the class, and I love that. So I love project-based classes. I feel like they're so similar to the real world because pretty much you're doing projects. Like, when I'm doing my internships, you're just doing a lot of projects. So I really love this class, and I can't really comment on the professor because I was just doing the projects and not really watching any videos. But yeah, it was an async class and I appreciated it. Okay, Industrial Engineering 185 was a challenge lab for like entrepreneurship and like healthcare related things. Oh my god, healthcare related things. And I feel like at the beginning I was really excited about this class, but this class was in the evening because our professors were commuting after work to come do it. So I totally understand why it was in the evening, but I have found that me and evening classes do not go well together. I just get really tired, and I'm not a fan of walking at night to go to class because it's kind of far away from my apartment, and I also didn't know anyone else going into this class, and it was like group based. So then I got lucky, like I got a good group, but honestly, I was a little stressed about that when they were like, oh yeah, you're in this group for the rest of the semester, and like it's not like a short-term thing. I found it really interesting though because they had us do like weekly vlogs where we answered questions about what we were learning in the class, so definitely like more modern. But I will say I posted my vlogs to YouTube and sometimes they just did not get watched, so like unlisted, like they didn't get watched by anyone, like the professor or anyone to grade them, but I still got credit. So I really question if they actually watched the videos or not, but that is okay. Maybe the point of them is just to do it, and I'm learning from that. let's give ratings to all of these. So I'm going to disappear again. Okay, so for CS70, honestly, they made this class more stressful than it needed to be. So let's give it a rating of, like, what are you doing? Like, this was unnecessary. For the college writing one, I'll say that it was, like, kind of chill. Sometimes I was like, oh my god, why do I have to do discussion posts? But I feel like the way they designed it was pretty good for a college writing class. So I think I will give it... I don't know. These ones look too happy. Like, I was not that happy in this class. But, like, I wasn't, like, super stressed. So maybe we'll just give it this one. Like, it was there. It was better than other writing classes I've taken. And I feel like it was so much better than my AP Lit class in high school. Like, this was a breeze compared to that. Honestly, like, a lot of my classes, I feel like I was, like, less stressed about them than my high school classes. Okay, eecs 16B. Oh my gosh, I adored this class, and I feel like it needs to get a car emoji because we built the cutest car in it. So, let's see. We'll put this car. That way, like, if you didn't like the class, I feel like the car still describes the class. And then this one, I feel like it was just so chill, and I appreciated that. So I think we're just gonna give this one because it was amazing. I loved that class. It was one unit of greatness. This one, interesting in concept, but I cannot take night classes. So I think I'm gonna give this one like a little bit of a sleepy one. Wait, where is that? A little sleepy. And that's purely because it was a night class. Like, I wish I could give a better review, but I just feel like it was a night class, and then halfway through the semester they switched us to a new building, and it literally had no windows. It was crazy. It was like an all concrete building. So don't recommend that. Let's talk about sophomore fall. So this fall I took Data A, Foundations in Data Science, CS61C, which is Great Ideas of Computer Architecture, BioE C131, Introduction to Molecular in Cell Bio, CS195, which is Social Implications of Computer Technology, and Stat134, which is Concepts of Probability. Okay, for Data A, I had programmed in Python a lot before this, so I feel like this class was truly a breeze. Like, if you have Python coding experience, you'll be good. I promise. Like, I feel like the homework is really intuitive and the way they design everything is great. And honestly, like, that is something that I love about data science and CS classes at Berkeley, is the way that they're set up. The TAs are set up so well, at least on the CS side, and I really appreciate that. I'm very sorry that they're overworked, but they are truly on top of replying to you on ed and discussion. Like, they're super helpful. They're literally, like, if I have a struggle in the class, I go to the TA, and they're amazing. And then CS61C was Great Ideas of Computer Architecture. I like this class. I don't think it's necessarily something I'd want to do in the future, but I feel like it was really great to learn more about, like, lower level programming languages, and also about, like, how computers work and all of that. I do feel like the exam had some, like, crazy questions on it where I was like, I mean, they weren't worth a lot of points, but one of them was, like, asked to, like, name a specific person who did something, and I was like, why am I memorizing a person's name? Like, I know that people do great things, but also there are so many people who contributed to so many things that I don't understand how they thought I was going to remember this one person's name. Like, I was studying the concepts, not names. So that just irked me a little bit, but otherwise, I enjoyed the class. And then, oh, I must note though, for 61C, I did have one of the tester years where half of the exam was online, in person with a proctor, and then half the exam was, like, online, but, like, not with a proctor. Like, it was like a coding challenge sort of thing, which was like a mini project that you had to do in a couple days. So I really like that. I don't know if they're still doing it like that, because I know that the next semester my boyfriend took it and it was not like that anymore. So I don't know if they're trying to compare it or what's happening, but I personally really like that, and it was great. Okay, Bio-E C131. I really enjoyed this class. I feel like I didn't know what to expect going into it, but it's definitely a breadth over depth sort of deal. It tries to cover as many things as possible, and then you get a really good overview of the computational biology space. In terms of doing labs, I was really concerned about like the lab time interfering with my other stuff, but the labs aren't actually labs, at least when I took it. It was just like office hours to talk to TAs about the homework, so that was really chill. The homeworks were just Jupyter notebooks, and then I love the exams for this class. It was online, it was timed, and it was open book, so that was great. And so it was pretty much like you against the clock and your notes. So I feel like it was great, and they had practice exams from previous years, and the questions on the practice exam were really similar to the multiple choice ones on the real exam. So I feel like the professor just gave so many resources to make the class as easy as possible, which I loved. So thank you, I appreciated that, and the class was great overall. CS 195, Social Implications of Computer Technology. I feel like this class was very weird to be one unit in my opinion. I feel like the ethics requirement should probably be more than one unit. This was the CS option for that, and I do feel like we covered interesting things in our reading, but I kind of do wish there was a required discussion section. At the beginning of the semester, they offered that you could take it with honors to have a discussion section, and at the beginning, like, I couldn't vibe check the class quite yet, so I didn't opt into that, and I wish I had. So it really just depends on how much time you have on your plate to actually add that on, but if I could go back, I would add that, because this is a chill class, and I think just adding a discussion section where you talk about the readings would still be pretty chill. But I think it'd be better for learning ethics if you're actually like talking about them with other people rather than just like listening to it, if that makes sense. Okay, Stat 134, Concepts of Probability. This class is pretty much just like an expansion of the probability that you see in CS 70. So yeah, I don't know. I was like iffy about if I liked the professor or not. My boyfriend was gonna take it with me, but then he dropped it during the drop period because he was like, oh god, no. So really up to you what you want to do, but I honestly enjoyed it overall. I feel like I enjoy stats, so maybe that is the deciding factor, but the exams weren't too bad. I feel like they were representative of the course and everything. If you do go to lecture in person, they do like ask you to like do questions during the time and then they go over them, which is something I did like about his lecture style. But I will say when I was taking this class, I was not intending to use it towards a data science minor, and when my father found out that I was taking a class towards something that was not like going towards a degree, my dad was like, oh my gosh, you're wasting the money. But then I clarified that once you're full-time, it doesn't matter. So I kind of just took this for me. So the fact that it ended up being used towards my data science minor was not something I had realized when I was like taking the class. So I feel like that also implements how much I enjoyed it versus not, because it wasn't required when I was taking it. Let's review all of these classes. So Data A, so easy. I have Python experience though, so really depends on where you're coming in at, but this one was really chill. This one, I feel like it was interesting, but not something I necessarily want to do in the future. So I feel like it was like, I'll give it like a little computer, because then I like truly understood how my computer was working and like why you buy different add-ons to your computer. Okay, Bio-E, I feel like this class was amazing. Like, I really enjoyed it. Sometimes I wish it went more in depth, but the way it was structured and everything, it was great. So I'm going to give it this really big smiley face. This one, I wish it was a little bit longer, because, I don't know, like, I was happy with it, but also I was kind of sad that I didn't do the discussion portion. And then the stats one, I feel like it was a good class, but not my favorite lecture style. And yeah, I don't know. I feel like this one I like because I like stats. And so I don't know how much that impacts you. So if you like stats, you'll probably like this class. But also it did have quite a bit of overlap with CS70. So just keep that in mind. I'll give it like a normal smiley face. For spring, I took 3 classes this semester. CS 189, which is machine learning, Physics 7B, which is electricity and magnetism, Data C100, which is principle and techniques of data science. So 189 is the hardest class I took at Berkeley. I feel like the professor I took in the spring, so I feel like he had a good balance of both like theory and then applied stuff, because it'd be more theoretical during class, but then all the homeworks and discussion stuff, it was more applied, which I really liked. But that professor has gotten into some controversy because of some like wild comments he made on a class discussion board. So I'll link the article about that in the description if you want to read more about that. And I'll also link like our version of the Onion's article about that too. But yeah, so an intriguing person in real life, but he structured the class well. Yeah, intriguing. I don't know what to say about that. I was honestly just in shock that he said that on a class discussion board, because it's kind of an outrageous thing for a professor to do. But let's move on to Physics 7B. So this was about electricity and magnetism. Honestly, the lectures were not good. And this was supposed to be the professor that was good at lecturing, so I do not know how bad the other professors were. And then in terms of like the homework and discussion and stuff and lab, that was fine. My TA was good. He helped if I had any questions, the TA would clarify them, so he was super helpful. And then the exams were like fine in this class. I feel like they're just standard physics exams. I will say though, one of my friends did ask the professor like for clarification on an exam question, and the professor did not know how to do it. Like he messed up, and then he was like, let me think about this. So I don't know what that says about the professor, but I feel like they definitely aren't focused on teaching the class. And then Data C100, Principles and Techniques of Data Science. This class was honestly still a breeze for me because I had worked in Python in the past, I'd used pandas in the past, and I was also taking 189, which covers machine learning, at the same time as this. So I feel like this was a lot easier compared to that. But just depending on how comfortable you are with data science, Python, and machine learning, that will impact you. But I really like taking Data 100 and CS 189 together. So I definitely recommend that if you have the option to do so. Okay, let's rate the classes. Okay, CS 189, I feel like it was a tough but like a really gratifying class. So I feel like it gets, there's like, you work hard, but like, okay, I'll describe like how hard I was working. Like, I went to office hours every week for my homework, but I feel like it was really worth it. Okay, we'll do this one, because the blushing part is me like sweating and being super tired climbing up the hill to go to office hours every week, but I was super happy at the end because I was really proud of myself when I finished the class. Physics 7B is, I don't know, we'll just do like a lightning bolt or something for electricity, because this class, I feel like I was just doing it to get it over with. I don't feel like I really gained anything out of it, and yeah, I don't know what else to say. Data C100, Principles and Techniques of Data Science, I feel like it partnered really well with CS 189 and was still not super challenging for me. So I'll honestly give it this one again, which is the one that I gave 47B. Like, the way the class is structured was great, and honestly, like, the organization of content I really appreciated, but I will give a warning that I am a skewed person because I did have a lot of Python experience going into this. And then I studied abroad, so I can't really talk about Berkeley classes there, but if you want to hear about like studying abroad and how to get classes approved and that process, especially in the College of Engineering, let me know. I could definitely dive into what that process looked like, how long it took for classes to get approved, and how I picked my classes abroad. Because I actually got credit for one upper division data science class, one upper division eecs class, and one upper division humanities and social sciences class. So 3 out of my 4 classes counted for something, which I feel like is kind of rare, especially in engineering, but I'd love to make a video talking about how I did that. My junior spring, I took CS 170, which is the upper division algorithms class, CS 186, which is introduction to database systems, and public health 160, which is environmental health and development. For CS 170, this was also a really challenging class. I feel like it's like one of those things where you think about it and then it will finally click, just like CS 70, and I think this class was structured better than CS 70 though, and was definitely more enjoyable. So keep that in mind. Like, I promise, even if you didn't like CS 70, you might like CS 170. It's super helpful for coding interviews. It talks through a lot of the concepts that are critical to doing well on leak coding, because you really understand algorithms and you're doing like leak code hard problems in the class. And then CS 186, which is introduction to database systems. I really like this class. I feel like they made it really intuitive and discussion was super helpful. I had a little bit of a weird semester where the professor wasn't like lecturing in person. It was all asynchronous and they were using past lecture videos, which left a little bit of like a sour taste in my mouth, because I don't know, like, have an actual person lecturing, have the option to go in person, please. I feel like that's really important, and like eecs and CS is huge at Berkeley, so I really wish they had an in-person offering, even if people not like, honestly, like a lot of people don't go in person at Berkeley to classes or lecture. Like, they'll go in person for discussion. Oh my god, they'll go in person for discussion, but I feel like having that option and also having like new updated content is so critical. So please, you have the tuition to do so, do that in the future. And public health 160, this class was super interesting. I did it to fulfill my data science ethics requirement, and I feel like there are just so many things to talk about in this field, and you get to work on a project throughout the semester on a topic within this that you're passionate about with a group. So you really just get to dive into whatever you care about, and I really appreciated how there was an option to do lecture attendance either online through watching the video on Canvas or in person. And then in the discussions we would talk. I feel like this discussion section, it was a little bit more awkward, just like my college writing one, because it's like a bunch of majors who aren't actually the major of the class taking it. So just keep that in mind. But I feel like there are really interesting things to talk about in this section, and also some really scary things. I was like, oh my gosh, there's so many things that I interact with every day that are so bad for me. So it just really, you think about a lot more things, a lot more, and the impact that like a lot of your choices are having on the environment, and also how like previous generations choices for industrialization and how they regulated that impact our endocrine system today, like our hormones, and how they impact our health today. So I honestly really recommend this class. I wasn't intending to take it. I was going to try and take Bio E100? Yeah, Bio E100, but it got all full, and so I ended up taking Public Health 160. So let's rate all these classes. 170, honestly, it was challenging, but I felt like I was like solving a puzzle whenever I was doing this class, so that was really fun. And then 186, I feel like it was really chill, and you could just like go with the flow in the class, and it wasn't too bad. So I think I'm gonna do this one, because it's like, oh my gosh, I don't know, that emoji just makes sense with me. And then environmental health, I feel like this one, I was like, wow, like everything is a chemical, but the chemicals we're choosing to surround ourselves with are kind of crazy. So those are my reviews of all my classes. Let's do a little quick recap of like general advice, and then I'll say like what I would change about this schedule. I would make sure you have like one hard class and one easy class every semester. Like, no matter what, always have that one class that's easy where like it'll be a breath of fresh air, and then I feel like having that one class where like when you finish it, it'll be so gratifying. It's so worth it. So my hard classes here would be this one, I'd say like History 100 AC, just because I was like adjusting to college and then also taking a humanities class was probably my hardest one. Here, my hard class was CS 70. This semester, my hard class was CS 61C, just because I was so unfamiliar with the material. This semester, my hard class was CS 189, and then this semester it was CS 170. And then in terms of my easy classes each semester, it'd be 47A. Honestly, eecs 16A is pretty chill too. And then I had already taken Math 53, so I was just trying to get those prereqs out of the way. And then decals are always super chill, unless you get really unlucky, but they're pretty chill. And then this semester, my easy one was 47B and my challenge lab. And then this semester, Data 8 and Bio E 131 were my easy ones, along with CS 195, because it was just such a low unit count, and like even though the readings were like about ethical and moral dilemmas, like I feel like I like care about like what it's writing about, so it wasn't like it was hard to read. It was like I was reading pretty fast. And then this semester, I'd probably say that Data C 100 was my easiest class, and then Physics 7B was also pretty chill. It's just like the professor was not conducive to my learning style. And then my junior year, CS 186 was my easy class, and CS, oh my god, Public Health 160 was also like a relatively chill class, but I will say like there was like a bigger final project, and there were more like attendance requirements tied to it, so not as like easy or like chill as like some of my other classes where like lecture attendance wasn't required and like the homework or like it was async and stuff like that. Now let's talk through if I would change my schedule at all. First off, as I said before, pass no passing, History 100 AC, like it's not that important to take everything for a grade. We're gonna pass no pass that. The next thing I'm gonna change is instead of this challenge lab, I'm going to take a decal. I feel like I was trying to take something more academic to fill my schedule, but honestly, I wish I had taken something that was like more fun, more chill, like the fashion one, or honestly, like there are so many good ones. Like I just wish I had done something less academic here. Sophomore year, honestly, even though this counted towards nothing, I'm happy I took it. So I'm pretty happy with the schedule. And then this one, I just really wanted more of a break, so I feel like this was a good schedule just to take it a little lighter, especially with a harder class. Studying abroad, I loved. I am such a big advocate for studying abroad. Like, there are different funding sources you can go to, and then the transferability of credits. Like, I know sometimes it's like, looks very hard, but you can get it done and you can get it to work. And let me know if you want a video on how I made it work, even though I was majoring in an engineering degree. And then junior year, I feel like, I wish I had taken a decal. I feel like I was having major senioritis, and I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna go chill. But I feel like there were some decals that I could have really enjoyed. So I feel like it's just up to you what you want to value. But this is my overall schedule. If you do want to see any of like the checking out or signing up of classes, I have a whole video on that, and I also talk through using Berkeley time and looking at grade distributions, so I'll link that down below in the description. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. My image disappeared, but thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Comment if you want to learn about anything else, or if it can help you in any other way, and yeah, bye y'all!